What's up, teachers? We are back with another video. I know that a lot of people are sort of navigating their way through Google Classroom, and that comes along with a bunch of other tools. We can, if you take a look, we can see everything that's sort of possible with Google Classroom, and it can get a little bit overwhelming. I know that a lot of people are making Google Forms to either collect answers or to differentiate, and it can be a little bit overwhelming when you go from all these different forms to spreading out and going to all these different spreadsheets, and it feels like everything's in a million places, and that can definitely be frustrating because then you miss certain answers or certain responses from kids, and they're all in a million places. So I wanted to show you guys an easier way to organize all of these different forms. So I just made two very simple forms. I just made some fake answers to these questions. So I have one form that asks for people's lucky number. I have another form that asks for people's favorite color. So I have this set up. And when you go, we'll start with the numbers form. When you are in this part here, you can click over to responses, and obviously it pulls up a summary. You can look by question, you can look by person if you want, and you can see all the forms there, which is all great, but it's kind of difficult to to make much of this. So a lot of people like to send them to spreadsheets. So if you click here, it'll create a spreadsheet for you. What I like to do is if you click on the three little dots there, it brings up these other options, and you can actually select your destination for these responses. So when I do that, I can either add it to a spreadsheet that's already in my Google Drive, or I can create a new spreadsheet, which is what I'm going to do. Since I know that I don't want this to just be the number responses, I'm just going to put class responses. Obviously, you could name it whatever you wanted to, but just for simplicity, I'll put class responses. So you go ahead and click create. The spreadsheet is now linked. So when you click on this, now you view responses and everything pops up here in one place. And this was the number. So I'm going to rename the tab. If you go down to the bottom where the tab is, you can rename it, and I'm going to put numbers form. So now I know everything is there for me. Now when I click, when I click over here on the colors, I can see same information, the same people answered the question, but this is for the favorite color response. So again, instead of clicking to create a brand new spreadsheet, I click next to it where it says select response destination, and now I can select an existing spreadsheet. I'm going to select the class responses sheet that I just made. It's already in my drive, and it filters out just so you see spreadsheets. This is a new Google account for me, so there's not a ton here, but it will go by whatever you created most recently. So it'll typically be the very first thing that you see, or you may have to search for it depending on how crowded your drive is. But pretty simple either way. So you click on that, you click select. And now, when I go back to this spreadsheet, you'll notice that a new tab popped up. That is from the color form. So now I have all of my information in one place. And let's say I have a class list. I can make a new tab, and if my class list was here, I can actually do a simple Excel function to pull all of the data from the different forms into one spot. This is a little bit more advanced, and it might be a little tricky for some people. But I do think that this is a good way to organize everything. So what I'm going to do is I have my class list. Obviously, you may have more information. You certainly will have more kids than this, but this is just a good way to collect everything. So if I put numbers here, what I'm going to do is, and again, this is a little bit in the weeds for people who aren't big on Google Sheets or Excel, but what you're going to do is you're going to type in the equal sign to make a formula, and you're going to put VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is just a way to search, and I'll explain how that works. So there's a couple of arguments that it takes here. You're going to select the thing that you want the spreadsheet to look for. So I'm going to click right next to it. I want every time I go to a new sheet, I want it to be looking up Stephanie's name. So wherever it says Stephanie, it will pull in the information, and I want it to check the numbers. So I click over here, the numbers. I highlight where the names are and where the information is that I want it to look up. Sometimes that's going to be a few different columns. For this, it's a nice simple example. So I'm looking up B and C columns. My next argument is it says index, but it's just how many rows or how many columns over you want it to look for. So I put 2 because it's the second column out of the ones that I selected. And now it shows up in my my class sheet. If I drag this down, it automatically, because of the way that I wrote the formula, it automatically looks for the different people. So when I look down here, I can see that it's finding everything for me. And actually, I'm going to add an argument to here, sorry. And I'm just going to put false. Now it will match up. You need to make sure that everything is sorted the right way. If you don't put an argument there, so you're just going to make sure that you put false at the end. Then you don't have to worry about whether it is sorted or not. And that's, again, deep into the weeds. I'll do it again with the color form just to show you again. So I'm going to name my column color here. I do the same thing, the equal sign, VLOOKUP. And I want it searching for the information in this cell. So I just click on it. If you type Stephanie, it gets all wonky. So, and then it won't, when you go to autofill, it won't search each different cell. So you're going to want to just click on there, put a comma. You go to the color form. You do the same thing. You select B and C because B is where the names are. C is where the information is that you want. You put a comma and 2, again, because it's the second column. And then we put false. You click enter. Do the same thing. You drag this down, and it autofills the formula for everything. And now you have all of your information in one place. So you can do this as you keep adding new tabs and new information to this. It will look up for you. Now, what happens if, let's just put in somebody, we'll do Susie. We have Susie in here now, but she didn't do anything. She hasn't done anything yet. It shows up as NA. It can't find this name. So then you can double check and say, oh, okay, Susie didn't fill out the number or the color form. I have to get in touch with her and figure this out. You can also just do it as grades potentially. If you have one column at the end that's the grade from a given form, you can just collect all of the grades here, and then you have all your data in one place. I hope that wasn't too far into the weeds, and it made sense. If you have any questions, definitely reach out. It's I know some people, like I said before, are intimidated a little bit by Google Forms and definitely by spreadsheets, but it doesn't have to be super difficult. This is sort of like the basic entry-level way to organize everything. And like I said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And if you want to get more advanced, I can put up some other examples of different ways to do things in Google Sheets. So I hope that helped. I hope everybody's doing well, and we will talk soon.